And to speak about some of these issues now, we're joined now by Cosas spokesperson Douglas Ngobeni, who joins us on the line, a federal chairperson of the Democratic Alliance Student Organization. Lenard Malesa joins us now via Zoom. A very good evening to you both, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Let me just start with you there, Mr. Malesa. What are your thoughts about these proposed university hike fees? Now, we've heard particularly the private universities complaining that, you know, as the cost of operating universities goes up, the government subsidization has gone up. And there's been this long-running conversation of what are the opportunities post-COVID-19, the pandemic, particularly when it comes to funding?
Thank you very much. Look, in this country...
Okay, Mr. Malesa, let's see if we can reconnect with you. Mr. Ngobeni, are you able to share your thoughts on this conversation? The Higher Education Minister, Dr. Blade Nzimande, is saying that they've made a plan, especially with the high numbers of enrollments, what they can accommodate, that there's going to be a hybrid system. Are we taking advantage of what was envisaged as opportunities that could exist for post-COVID-19 pandemic higher education funding schemes?
Yeah, thanks. And let me first greet the viewers of SABC this evening. The most fundamental contribution we will make as a PYA to this conversation is the fact that the PYA went to an NGC in 2011 and took a policy position which suggests that education should be free and compulsory in South Africa. So whatever measures that the Minister of Higher Education, Corporate Blade Nzimande, will want to present and propose in relation to funding models should obviously be influenced by the fact that as the Congress of South African Students, SASCO, the YCL and the ANC Youth League are firm on our position to say that the education system of South Africa should be decommissioned to an extent that people do not look around for profit, but let us at least have an education system which is free. And of course, there is a high number or there's a huge influx of learners who are graduating from institutions of basic education to higher education, and when they arrive there, obviously it will have an effect in the budget of NSFAS, this and that. And we are very appeased by the fact that the minister is mentioning now that NSFAS is no longer going to be there's no longer going to be a requirement where NSFAS requires people to pay either in advance or whatsoever, but NSFAS is a bursary, and we welcome that move and announcement by the Minister of Higher Education, Blade Nzimande.
Mr. Malesa, I'm not sure if okay, we'll see if we can get him back on the line. Mr. Ngobeni, let's continue with you. Build on that issue around higher education funding agencies, their capacity. There is no doubt that this is also dictated to by economic growth of a particular region, particularly a particular country. The difficulties that we're experiencing as a country, well documented. You speak about bursaries, but people have been fighting for grants. But are we at that point, though, that we can afford it as a country?
Remember, the 2015 fees must fall. When it happened, the then president convened all stakeholders, and in 2018, the report which came from the fees must fall movement, where all stakeholders were involved, was such that NSFAS is now going to be turned into a bursary as compared to it being a loan. But when it comes to funding, it is, when it comes to a grant, it is a different story, because when we speak about a grant, it now affirms what we have always said about the issues relating to free education, meaning that students will no longer be compelled to pay back the money. But our issue thereof becomes that of saying that NSFAS as a grant, which the government obviously has the capacity to arrive to that decision, is that it is going to be beneficial to a selected few. And our view is that each and every student in the country should be a beneficiary to the call which we're making of free education. And this free education should not come through a grant. It should come through a systematic measure.
So as you say, there is a distinct difference between a loan, a bursary, and a grant, and even the value of a bursary also differs depending on what you qualify there, the minister for there. The minister is speaking about what has been a problem, and even a greater problem we've seen, particularly exacerbated by COVID-19, that of the missing middle, people who are seen as not qualifying, but the reality is that they don't have the means. And we are saying that as a country, to grow and to be able to develop further, to industrialize further, that we need a workforce that is educated. So I'm just wondering, as student organizations, what are the conversations that you're having? The strengthening of the public education financing system, but also in tandem with the realities on the ground, because we are also saying that not every student who comes out of higher education, is in high school, who comes out of high school needs to go necessarily to a university, that going to FET college, TVET colleges might be the way to go. But it's also about applying that rethinking.
Look, I think the first thing first which we have to do as South Africans is to kill the stigma that once you go into the TVET sector, it means that you are either rejected by universities, or there is no space, or you do not qualify to be in universities. We must comprehend the fact that TVET colleges are in fact even more practical than universities. So TVET colleges, for us to be able to create an environment or an education system which produces a bigger workmanship or workforce, we should understand that TVET colleges are not a destination of, not as a result of being rejected. They should be a destination of success. So then we are then able to comprehend the fact that we are going to be able to create, and in fact it becomes even easier for the government to have proper measures in relation to funding. So we must encourage the learners who are going to institutions of higher learning to say that they must actually choose TVET sectors as compared to universities.
All right, we do have back with us Lenard Malesa, who's a Democratic Alliance Student Organization spokesperson. Mr. Malesa, just to hear from your organization where you think the conversation is headed, particularly if we are making progress, not only on the availability of funds, but how we are reimagining the space. Mr. Malesa, are you with us? All right, it seems like we have Mr. Malesa, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, so what is the DA Student Youth Organization's point of view about this particular discussion, balancing the skills?
Come again?
where does your organization stand on the current discussion? We're talking about price hikes at higher education, sustainability of funding these agencies that support the haves and the have-nots. But most importantly, if we are reconfiguring our thinking, we're just speaking here with Mr. Ngobeni about how TVET college programs, that they need to be promoted more, that they shouldn't be seen as inferior.
Thank you very much. Look, we have been preaching the issue of funding crisis that we're facing in South Africa, and Mr. Blade, it seems like he has been trying to come up with new solutions that he does not implement. Each and every year we come here and discuss issues of funding crisis. Now you find that the issue of funding crisis is something that we have been preaching on a sustainable model that the DHET needs to utilize in order to be able to sustain the funding of the generations to come. So now, as we speak, the students of this country are owing 16.5 billion, and at the same time, every year there are students that come into the system. Now, when the students come into the system, the more they come into the system, that means that there is a backlog because most of students do not graduate because of certain issues that they are facing in the country. Now, that creates a platform where the universities that are offering these courses and qualifications, they start increasing fees and all these things. Now, when they increase the fees, it's not because they want to. In this country, we are being faced now by a pandemic called
what funding models are you suggesting in terms of resource mobilization, teaching, learning, support tools to, again, as I said, move the conversation forward? We know that there is a crisis and there are new challenges that keep cropping up. What funding models, strategies are you suggesting?
Okay, thank you very much. Look, we have always proposed to Blade that, look, we need a funding model where, number one, academic performance needs to be motivated, in a sense that when we have students that are being funded, now you are funding the students each and every year. In the next 3 years, you find that the government does not have enough funds to fund the generation that is coming. So that is simply because the government keeps on having funds that goes to institutions to fund students, but they are not creating a platform to bring more funds in order to fund the students that are coming in the next 2 years or so. So what we have always proposed, I'm excited that he mentioned the issue of missing middle students. That will be it's a process that they are going to establish, where they are going to give loans to those middle students. Our stand was always it has always been that those disadvantaged students, they need to have a full grant of funding. But at the same time, how then do we make sure that these students that are funded, when they come out of the institution with the qualifications, the ones that are coming, they are going to be able to have funds to be able to also complete their funding. So this thing does not start here in the institution. It must start from the basic education level, where the government needs to provide a tangible and a quality education to these learners from high school. The amount and the quality of education that is being provided as time goes on, it assists the university first years that enters to be able to complete their qualification in record time, because they have been having a quality education and a basic education that the government should provide to prepare them to the university. We have a lot of students that do not complete their courses. It's because simply they cannot be able to adapt to the environment because of the lack of knowledge and capacity that the government hasn't done from the level of primary level, high school, and all those things. So we are saying the university rather say those students that they know they perform very well, they can increase and say, no, we are going to give you a full bursary because of
we're going to leave it there, Mr. Malesa.
Students to be able to do academically well and
Lenard Malesa is the Democratic Alliance Student Organization spokesperson. Thank you so much. We also spoke to Cosas spokesperson Douglas Ngobeni.